Hi, Ross. Great to have you in our podcast today. We look forward to this conversation, but maybe good for our listeners that you can also give a brief introduction of yourself and what you're doing today.
Thanks, Jasper. I'll firstly introduce myself. I'm Ross Norris from Australian Native Products. I'm the general manager of the business and been with them for 2.5 years. And Australian Native Products is the world's largest grower of lemon and anise myrtle, two products which are quite, shall we say, famous native Australian herbs that are sold globally into many industries such as tea, distilling, food, and personal care. And it's a pleasure to be with you today. Thank you.
Thanks. To start off with the first question, companies often have to balance multiple priorities when it comes to finalizing new product development. In your experience, what are the main priorities that conflict and how do they manage them?
That's a good question, Jasper. Obviously, the biggest trade-off we find is trading off price, and many companies see the desired products they want to make often cost a lot more than the trade restrictions and cost restrictions will allow them. So one of the ways we help companies manage that is by doing work behind the scenes to educate them on how the cost of use of products such as lemon myrtle actually lead to them having a cheaper cost of goods than they may already have when they're using other citrus herbs. Another area where they tend to make a trade off is health claims. And certainly with products, they often want to produce an ideal product, but they really have to make sure that they're fully compliant with local regulations. And that often means that they have to say less than they choose to say or than they'd like to say in order to make sure that they have a product that doesn't raise the ire of their competitors and also stays within the regulations. So, in our experience, these are the two biggest trade-offs, and usually taste is king, which is why we find that we've got great acceptance for lemon myrtle globally.
Thanks, Ross. And if we would take that to a next question, what are the most common barriers to a project being able to launch on its desired date?
That's a good question, Jasper. In many of the businesses I've been in, I think that one of the biggest struggles has been to get a project launching on time. So the main barriers that I see are from a quality point of view. It's essential to make sure a lot of stability testing is done in order to ensure that there's a product that meets all of the regulatory requirements, but also satisfies consumers for the longer term, and certainly at least for the stated shelf life of the product. And at the end of that shelf life, should still look and taste as fresh as possible. Another barrier I see is the keeping the over the longer period of product development, keeping the actual concept true to the original concept that was identified from consumer discussions or market testing, because there's a lot of twists and turns a product can take, and for quality reasons or cost reasons, the product will often there'll be pressures to change the product. So I think that's an important one for businesses to remain focused on. What is the value proposition that their consumer or their customer wants, and making sure that the final product stays true to that. Another challenging barrier we see is supply time for new ingredients, and certainly there's that old adage that you can have cost or quality or speed, but you only get to choose two of those. And I think that supplying new materials can often be quite challenging, especially with agricultural products. Certainly, we've invested in a lot of fresh plantations in order to take that problem away, because it was a historical issue for native Australian botanicals and specifically for lemon myrtle. But we're pleased to say that there is no longer a problem. Thanks to our partnership with 1-2 Taste, we're making stock available on the ground in Europe to really try and raise the profile.
Great. Um, do you do you actually see specific times of the year when products are more launched into the market?
Unfortunately, Jasper, I think that in a lot of situations, both here in Australia and in a lot of overseas markets, the timing of new product launches does tend to be driven by review periods for the major retailers. And certainly, in most markets, the major retailers will structure it so that specific categories launch at specific times of the year. Outside of that, with small and medium companies, it's great to see that they will tend to launch based on the merit of their idea and certainly based around the benefits they feel that product will deliver. So, there's the obvious seasonal launch windows, such as Christmas products for in the November period, or products that are specific for winter, or products that are specific for weight loss prior to summer and things like that. For example, in health products, you'll see prior to winter, you'll see big launches of immune-based products. You'll also see prior to summer, you'll see a lot of the slimming products come out. And from a food point of view, I think you'd certainly see a shift in the styles launched based on the season. So I guess to summarize, if you're a small or a medium-sized company who is less bound by particular retailer category reviews, you've got the freedom to launch when you feel that consumers will be most receptive to your launch and most receptive to look and most ready for the benefits the products are bringing. If you're a larger brand who's launching into the grocery channels or the retailers, you will find that you're pretty clearly restricted to one or two windows a year when you're able to present your products and hopefully have them sold into the retailers.
Thanks, Ross, for your great insights. In One to Taste, we see that the introduction of a new product takes around 120 days. Um, if if you want to launch a product in the summer, it means that you need to start at least 4 months in advance. So that's the least time that you need to prepare your next launch. Well, closing now. Thank you, Ross, and we'll be in touch.
Thanks, Jasper. And certainly from our point of view, it's great to see businesses focusing on the ingredient space and doing what you want to taste do. So always a pleasure to talk to you, and can't wait to do this again at some stage.